Good afternoon, everybody. If you guys did not see it yesterday on stream or otherwise, the EU and NA Fusion qualifiers were going on. 32 teams battling it out to see who could take it top. This video is going to be covering all of the results and all the major points, the upsets, and kind of things to pay attention to, and kind of preparing you for the day today. Also, in the middle of casting all these matches, we ended up hitting 10k subs, so massive thank you to you guys. Wouldn't be able to do it without you. I'm going to keep trying to provide up-to-date news and insight and things that you can't get anywhere else. So again, thank you for the support. If you guys enjoy the content and have not subbed, please do so. Turn on notifications. Give the video a thumbs up, as it does help out the videos recommending me with the retention rates and all that kind of crazy stuff. So again, thank you, and let's get into the video. So taking a look at the bracket, we're going to start away at the top, and then we're going to chisel down. I'm probably going to do these in sections. So I'm going to take these guys at the top from here to here, and then finish that through, and then we'll go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. There was only one round of lower bracket played yesterday, but that does set up a lot of interesting matches for today. So first things on the list, the only match that Vitality dropped was in game 1 against a team called Fivehead. It was the 2v2. The thing that surprised me actually was that KDOP and Alpha played instead of KDOP and Fairy Peak. KDOP and Fairy Peak have played hundreds of twos tournaments together and never lost one. Ever. Despite that, in every other match they end up playing, they do still continue to play with KDOP and Alpha and win those, but absolute domination by them against every team they come up against. Vitality, living up to their name as best in Europe right now. Other notable names, Solary and Team BDS, in my opinion, are the higher seeds, so Solary ended up doing pretty well until they came up to BDS and ended up losing. BDS did relatively well, dropping only one game to Solar. When they did meet, it was relatively close, and the big things to take away from this, Reno Vitality only won with 1 goal advantage over BDS, so BDS did keep it competitive. Yeah, man, Fairy Peak, 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, doesn't matter, the guys are really good. Next part of the bracket, and the one that surprised everybody, including myself when I woke up, as soon as I boot up my stream, the first thing I heard was Mouse lost in the first round, and I'm like, wait, what? So Mouse ended up losing to a team by the name of Your Ma. Yep. But these players are pretty notable. If you guys do not know them, I recommend going and checking them out. And that's kind of the exciting thing about this entire tournament, is because of the format of the 3v3, 2v2, and 1v1, a lot of RLCS teams get the nod for the 3v3, but the 2v2 and 1v1, as it's been deemed the ranked warriors, were absolutely dominant. There was a ton of upsets in the NA side, and we'll show you that when we get to there. Other mouse dropping, Veloce and Oxygen ended up finding each other in the qualifying match. If you guys do not remember the video from yesterday, Oxygen is now in addition with Astral, Shazette, and Farah. I think the cool thing about this bracket as well is for teams and players alike, there was a lot of old names that some of us OGs remember. Flying Nunchucks has a player by the name of Reganon in him. If you guys don't remember that, there's a team called Team Solid in like season 1, like first or second qualifier, that shocked everybody by qualifying and actually had a pretty solid performance for what they were supposed to be. A lot of upsets from them. Still cool to see people like Reganon competing to this day. Oxygen then went on, and pretty close matches overall, but in the end, man, like, they're really good. I think the one that caught me the most was Ixo. If you do not know him, is a very talented ones player. Ended up losing to Astral. So Astral, again, able to do it all. Tree of a Kind is a team that you guys may recognize that has some players from Team Echo Zulu from back in the day that made that crazy DreamHack run. Oxygen ended up playing Veloce. Veloce, obviously, a different team this time around as well, not playing with Freaky. The big thing to take away from this is Archie is really good. We've had a lot of discussions about Archie on my stream since he played with the Clappers. This guy reminds me a lot of Mist. Very methodical, slow, decision-making is really talented, but still has the mechanical abilities. I really like this player, and I hope he gets a shot in the RLCS, and if anything shows in this, he's definitely got the talent. Other thing to note before we get there, all the teams that are in this match at the bottom are sitting in the losers finals, so they're just kind of waiting until the end of the day to see if they end up qualifying or not. A lot of pressure after not having any big warm-ups. Next part of the bracket, we got Dignitas going up against Momentum. Pretty expected Dignitas had their way with them. The big thing to note, though, with this team is Ali. He ended up almost beating Yours in a 1v1. This is the one match that took everybody by surprise. Yours is known for being super mechanically gifted, really talented in ones, and Ali brought him to the final seconds, and it was... There's so many matches throughout this entire tournament that you're just like, wow, this is incredible. It's like you take all these 1v1 show matches or 2v2 show matches or community tournaments, and we're getting so many different looks at it throughout the entire day, and it's been honestly quite awesome. It's like, I didn't find myself ever bored in a series because I got a different dynamic or a different look from a team every single time and every single match in the specific series. So Massive shoutouts to the format. It's always really exciting to watch these kind of crew battle styles. The big shock of this bracket, though, was a team by the name of Stormtroopers with the players Polar, Dead Monster, and apparently Jack. Now, for those that don't know, they ended up beating Dignitas 3-1 as it shows in the bracket, and that kind of shocked everybody. Obviously, Dignitas is trying a new roster right now with yours, but still, you would think that they'd be able to clutch kind of the important matches. The one thing to pay attention to, though, is Relating Wave in their last match. I've been saying this now for probably the past week since I've been watching him in different kind of show matches and stuff, but Relating Wave's defense is incredible. I absolutely love him as a defensive player. Their match against Endpoint, very close, went back and forth, even with the captain picks, as a reminder. So the way that this works is because Endpoint is losing at this point, they're down 1-2 in the series, they get to pick this match, and they ended up choosing a 3v3. Almost every single time a RLCS team was not winning, they picked 3v3. End up losing that. They ended up going back to the 1v1 despite it being a 1-goal game, and this time, again, a 1-goal game, 7-6, but 8 seconds in overtime. Biggest thing to note, Dignitas, no team to slouch over. Same thing with Endpoint with new addition of Metzenaris. They look very dangerous. Stormtroopers definitely have a format that is benefiting them, I think. Either way, we talk about these ranked warriors. They're making a name for themselves, so I'm excited to cheer on them because they have automatically qualified. They will be in the main event. Drop down to the other half, Canyons. Obviously, as you guys know, the big one to note for me was actually Celestial. We'll talk about more of them when we get to the lower bracket, but put up a pretty good fight. This new Endpoint squad with Metzenaris is vibing, and it's been looking good. Virtuoso continues to be a bully with demos, and that's probably the best part, is they have a play style, it works for them, and Metzenaris has been an addition to that. Dropping down then to the last part, we've got Sandrock Gaming, the one everybody was asking about, and it was not a fluke. European Invitational, if you guys do not remember, Sandrock Gaming went to the finals and ended up getting smacked by Singularity, but Sandrock Gaming, the Middle Eastern team, is looking very talented. Slow start, but ended up warming up. Absolutely smacked Barcelona. If you guys do not know, Barcelona is playing with their sub, Seeb. Curious to see on if that stays consistent or not. If you guys do not know, Nameless, that is Rix Ronde, Ocelana, and Dementia. Dementia, very talented ones player. It's crazy how many of these young kids, these new like up-and-coming ones, super mechanical, really talented players are. There's been a lot of talk from some of the RLCS players, Reddles in particular, that are like, yeah, I don't give a crap about these players and what this new meta is, and he's super talented. Like, he's going to keep playing his game, and we'll get to that later. Sandrock Gaming qualifying in. I'm super excited to see them in the main event, competing all next week. First match that I ended up casting in the afternoon, I think. I don't remember. It's pretty long ago. I ended up casting for like 10 hours today, so my voice is kind of in between, but I ended up covering Singularity and Storybud. Storybud had a, I think, Irish representation, but Singularity looking pretty good. This is the new edition of Scrubkilla, if you guys did not see that. Scrubkilla is in the replacement of Godsmilla. Scrubkilla looked absolutely dominant in ones. That's kind of what he does. It basically toyed with his food, but once it got to Nameless, it ended up dropping down. We then dropped down to the lower matches, and this one kind of goes back and forth. Mousesports already eliminated. That was kind of the big notable one. Ended up dropping to Triple Trouble. Mousesports is out. They are done. That kind of surprised people. Randoms, Flakes' team is out already as well. Celestial and Shaky was probably one of my favorite matches I ended up covering. Super competitive. A lot of names on there that people don't know. The joke of Young Hibbert ended up hitting some pretty nasty shots. But the one that really caught my eye, Rizwul and Oli. That 1v1 match was clutch as hell. A lot of individual solo plays. Rizwul hit a flip reset above somebody to go over the top, and then he ended up double touching it too. Absolutely sick. But yeah, a lot of really fun moments in this match, and there's just almost too much to talk about. So to remind you guys of how things are going to start tomorrow, same time, same place across all the different streams. For me, it is 11 Central, but that is noon EST. And all these matches are going to play out. We're starting with lowers because lowers are the only thing that are left until we get through the qualifying matches. I assume the qualifying matches are going to start on Johnny's stream. He did say that he's going to start a little bit later before he picks things up because he is running a very long day, so understandable. But yeah, a lot of big matches. Barcelona Servette should be really good. Dignitas Flying Nunchuck should be really good. Yerma and Celestial should be stellar. Either way, a lot of good matches. We got a lot of teams that are high profile that are waiting for the qualifiers. Over to North America, same thing. Going to work down top to bottom and kind of crush through these, starting with G2 and that bracket overall. The big ones that are upsets, obviously Sonic's being RLCS team dropping to 72 pin connector, and G2 Esports dropping to 72 pin connector for the qualifiers. So 72 pin connector, again, this happened in the spring series as well, where 72 PC ended up qualifying with Charlotte Phoenix. same situation. This time they do it over G2. And again, I really think that this ranked warrior mentality, Lion Blaze is one of those players absolutely dominant ones where they come through and they really change the tide of this fight. I mean, you look at how this match played out and they go back for the winning match, another 1v1. So it is throwing a curveball on a lot of these teams, but every time it comes back, RLCS teams pick the 3v3 because that's what they're most comfortable in. It's what they practice for. So a lot of close matches in this one. Sonics ended up dropping to 72 pin connector, which makes sense because they ended up beating G2 as is. Flight obviously has been kind of up and down. Flight has come full circle. Qualified with Aeon, Rapid, and Seabass for the RLCS. They drop Aeon, they pick up Memory, they don't do well. Demote back into the RLRS, and then they pick up Aeon again, and now they're getting beat by Jamal Jabari. So I don't know what's going on with them. They got a lot of things to work out. We then jump to Energy. This is the bracket that I covered. Energy and Momentum was a really fun match. They ended up playing against Miho and the boys. If you guys don't know Miho, longtime player, used to play with Timmy and Dapper and stuff back in the day. He's playing with Prime Thunder and Pirates. This one really came down to the fact that Garrett is not a ones player, but he has said that he's going to try to start playing more ones, which is really cool that you're starting to see these guys make changes. Again, another RLCS team when they need to picks a 3v3. They end up winning because of that. Stromboli played a South American team by L. Evans, one of the top 3 in the region. Stromboli barely ends up squeaking out a win, but then they absolutely dominate Energy. A lot of the reason why was due to Alpha Cap. Alpha Cap is a fucking beast. And part of the language, but Alpha Cap is a monster in ones. It got out of hand. This was a really fun series to watch, but again, Stromboli, this new roster, even though they're missing out on Alraz, is looking really solid. I don't know what heck is sipping on, but it's working really well. So this team as a whole, 1s, 2s, 3s, looking really dangerous. I am worried for teams against Stromboli because they also end up going on to sweep E United. Stromboli qualified for the main event, and in this format, look very dangerous. Not sure how that's going to translate over to the individual brackets in the main event where you play a 1s bracket, a 2s bracket, and a 3s bracket rather than throughout a series. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's been crazy, man. It's been absolutely nuts watching these upsets. Pittsburgh Knights also trying out a new player. They're taking Alraz from Stromboli. They ended up dropping to E United. E United is also playing with Memory instead of Roldiz. Drop down to the other side. The one rivalry that I've been talking about. I want these two teams to be fighting for 3-4 in the RLCS next season. Team Envy and Rogue. I think these guys both have a lot of similar vibes and a lot of things that excite me. But Rogue comes out on top this time. Super close match, and a lot of the reason why, and you guessed it, Team Envy chose 3v3 and ended up losing, surprisingly. I ended up covering their match. I watched Affinity versus Team Envy. Really, really close. Affinity, again, really solid when it comes to certain things. And part of that being the ones game with Magic Bear. Magic Bear is a freak, and I love watching him play. Atomic and Mist, they ended up playing together and losing. And then they ended up switching it to Atomic and Reddles, and it worked out significantly better. So even though it was a close match, back and forth again, but overall, Rogue Envy, big rivalry. Glad we got to see them play off against each other. This match is a must-watch for me. Rogue qualifying through the uppers. Congrats to them. Excited to see them in the main event. We dropped down to the bottom half. I didn't get to watch many of these matches, but the big one that a lot of people are upset about is Cloud9. So they ended up dropping to the lowers, and I think CJ got spread misinformation. I think that was part of the issue. So a lot of people thought Cloud9 dropped out or something like that, or Cloud9 was done after they lost to Team Meteor. What ended up happening is CJ was spread misinformation because he was the one streaming it, and then chat started going off and getting mad and blah, blah, blah. Turns out there's a lower bracket. Space Station ended up beating Mirage, another good RLRS team. And Team Meteor, big surprise here. If you guys don't know Team Meteor, this is actually a couple of OGs with some new faces. Austin is kind of the one I recognize. He used to play for VVV a long time ago. That's actually where I got my casting career start, from way back. So glad to see him still competing and being competitive in general. Big surprise here was Team Meteor going all the way to qualification matches, beating Cloud9. As they got to Space Station, the big surprises here is, number one, they ended up winning both 1v1s. Sharp is really good. These new kids, man, their ones game is insane. They beat Arsenal and Sipical in 1v1s. Sipical's was a little bit closer. Those might have been garbage or kickoff goals in the one against Arsenal. But the big surprise for me was this was the only RLCS team I saw that when it went to Game 5, they did not pick 3v3. They ended up going 2v2, which was surprising. We then dropped to the lowers, and this is where things got late. I ended up dropping out at this point because it was like 10, 11 at night. It is 12:55 a.m. and I'm making this video. I still got to edit it and take care of that. So it's going to be a long night for me before we get into these matches again. But yeah, overall, Flight did bounce back, ended up getting into the lower round. 11s and Momentum was an exciting match, but it goes to show that that South American team is actually really talented. So happy for them. Kind of stinks for Miho and the boys, but they're going to be playing Affinity. That'll be an early match. I really want to cover that Affinity 11s match, and I'll do my best to do what I can. Other than that, Charlotte Phoenix and ended up playing against Cloud9. Close match. Recommend going back and watching that series if you're going to check out a lower bracket match. But Cloud9 does come back. And lo and behold, they're playing Jamal Jabari. So that'll be an exciting match towards the later half of the day. But a lot to tune into. Same situation. The difference is these are going to start at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we will start with these matches first. These get delayed an hour on the bottom half. So these will all start at 6. These will start at 7. Nice juicy recap for everybody. Hopefully you got your questions answered. And you are all up to date for today. If you guys have any questions, obviously drop them in the comments. Otherwise, come stop by the stream, twitch.tv/Lawler. We would love to have you as we watch these matches and hang out. Hopefully we see you there. Peace.